Hello! I am in full grunge mode and I'm in my car because there is no light anymore in the evenings. I need to buy a ring light or something at some point because the lights in my room just don't do it justice, and my hair is just, it's been a week as we're wrapping up the holidays. So I figured I would do a little bit of a list of all of the things that I have learned in 2018 because, it has been a year. An interesting year. A lot of lessons, a lot of things learned. And this is just a time to kind of honor that, I guess, before we jump into 2019 with all the amazing plans and things moving forward, etc. and so forth. So, I have a little list. Lists are important. Yes. So, number 1. Balance is a bitch, and it's important. So, I struggled so much with balance and all during this year. I said my word of the year was allow. And that is interesting because I did not allow the balance as much. I definitely struggled with that a lot this year. I definitely worked really hard to try to keep it going, but overall I was not all that good at constantly being aware of what was happening and how to change a lot of different things. I don't know, overall balance was just the thing I definitely struggled with, but at the end of this year I can definitely feel my life definitely settles a lot more. Like, I don't feel a lot of anxiety or just like constant stress about things not going right or that I'm not going to be doing a lot of stuff. Like, it's very more settled in general, I guess. I don't know. It just doesn't feel as crazy, so balance was freaking important. Number 2 is I place my worth in my productivity and in my body image, and neither of these things are good. This is a very, very bad thing. I've worked on that a lot. I've noticed with the balance of having a good work-life balance and knowing when to just relax or let my inner child come out and play and do something silly like play a video game that's not going to help how I'm feeling about life or anything else is important to do. And feeling my self-worth drop at those points because, oh my god, I'm not working on something that I should be working on is really frustrating. And then also I've had an interesting flux with my health in body image and stuff like that. I definitely was on a mission to get in better shape, and I dropped 10 pounds and then I've gained the 10 pounds back. Recognizing in the middle of the year that I was placing so much of my self-worth on how I looked in the mirror and how I felt about myself with doing tasks and getting stuff done, and reevaluating that was very, very important. It's still a struggle, but it's something I'm working on, and it was good for me to learn that that is where a lot of my self-doubt and shit was coming from. Number 3, spiritual practices make me a much better person, and so I definitely should keep doing them. And that was just, ever since I become a witch, this is a constant thing, and 2018 is just like hammered that nail in the coffin nice and firm for me. Like, no, we are here, it is dead and done, you just need to accept it fully about myself. Is I need spiritual practice to be a better person. It works so much better for me if I am focusing on the spiritual, if I'm asking the big questions, if I'm taking time on my altar and communing with my deities. If I'm not doing these things, then shit's gonna get bad and weird, and I'm not gonna like it, and that's just how it's gonna be. Number 4, having doubt doesn't mean I'm in the wrong. It just means to smart enough to know that I possibly could be. And I think this is important when it comes to especially discussions with other people, because a lot of times where I'm like, well, I'm not certain about something and that person seems certain about the thing, so they must be right and I must be wrong, and that's not necessarily true at all. Like, there's evidence and other things that you can back up your arguments, but as I've said before in multiple other videos, there's plenty of times where what we think to be true can suddenly be proven wrong over here and it's totally different. I don't know. So having that doubt is important, and just because someone is more confident in their answer doesn't mean that they're in the right. And them pointing at your doubt as a reason as to why you're wrong or as to why they are the one that is right, I think quite honestly just shows their ignorance on the topic at hand. Number 5, intuition is my most important tool, so I should rank it as such. The amount of decisions that I have been really warring with this year in 2018 And ultimately, it's when I've ignored my intuition, when I've done the logical thing, when I have ignored all other weird feelings that I've had about a situation, and I've trudged through anyway because logically there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. Like, it doesn't matter what my gut's saying. You should do what is logical. And justifying, like, so many different things that come up with that too, where I'm like, well, it's not logical. So I come up with a whole bunch of, like, logic-based reasons for the reason I'm doing something, even if it's just like, I'm just doing it because it feels right. I don't know. And when I do that shit, it works so much better for life in general. So intuition is my best tool, and I need to keep freaking using it and ranking it as my best tool. Number 6, deity going quiet doesn't mean they are gone. There's been a couple of times this year where all of my deities have kind of just like, or like one of them has like negated, pieced out for a little while. And some I've talked about on my channel and some I haven't. And at times it really does scare me a little bit, going like, oh, were they temporary? Was it not a thing? Was me reaching out? Is it like the Hades situation where I pissed them off or something went weird and now they're just not with me anymore? Like, what is it? And a lot of times it's just that actually I need to be in the present moment more, or they aren't the one I need to be focused on at the moment. Like, there's a lot of other things, but they're gonna come back. Like, just because they're gone for a little while doesn't mean they're not coming back. Sometimes it's just quiet, and that's okay. The life I want is worth going after. Even if it's a struggle, even if it doesn't make sense to anybody else, I know what I want. And having the courage to admit those things and just assert the fact that I really do want to go after these things and going after them is important. And sometimes it's just having the faith to know that I know what's best for me. I don't know what it is about the self-doubt that creeps in, and then knowing having doubt is okay every once in a while, but overall sometimes just having the faith that I know what's best for me is important. And knowing that I know the life that I will lead and curate is what's going to work best for me and make me happiest, regardless of what anyone else says, is smart and a really important thing to do. And I did a little bit of it in 2018, but I really need to just like hunker down on that in 2019. Contradictions make my head hurt, but they are worth exploring. The amount of things that I realized in 2018 that I kind of contradictorily hold to be true, or at times exploring the contradiction and realizing why it is a contradiction and why it's not working for me, is so freaking important. The amount of times where I have said I hold this belief, but then my actions don't hold up to it, and I've been a little hypocritical, or even just saying that both are actually true. Like the fact that I could be entirely focused on myself and not be selfish in the traditional sense of the word, I think is important to like look at stuff like that, right? Like holding and examining the viewpoints I have, and if they are seeming to be contradicting each other, why is that? Because maybe it's a good thing, but maybe it's not. Oh, short challenges are fun and they reinvigorate me, so I should do more of them. In 2018, I've done a lot of different little mini challenges. I've done like exploring the darkness for the month of October. I've taken away all my magic tools. I have pushed myself to use a lot more magic tools. I have ignored all of the deity advice that's coming in, and then I have kind of like given myself over to deities at times. There has been a lot of different small challenges that I have done throughout this year that have really helped me like jumpstart a lot of decisions. And so I think maybe just doing the things in short bursts really helps me to analyze whether or not it works, and I can add it more into my day-to-day life on a long-term status. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, because it's just a challenge for 30 days. There's like no pressure and stuff. So I think it's a really good strategy. I'm going to keep doing like 30-day challenges or like 10-day challenges or something with my spirituality and just life in general, I guess. Oh, I'm not me when I'm not creating things. I don't understand whether it's a podcast, a video, a comic book, a story I'm writing. It doesn't matter if it's just a doodle for fun or if it's part of my current job where I'm designing a magazine cover or something. I am creating something, I feel so much better, and I don't have to be creating 24/7 hours of the day, but I need to be creating at least one small thing a day or working on a creation. You know, it doesn't have to come to completion, but some sort of creation for both playful and for work's sake, because it is the days where I'm not doing anything that everything kind of feels shallow or hollow. Like there's no meaning in life when life is like that, right? So I need to focus on that way more. Some things can be problematic and fun at the same time. And this, what is that phrase that everyone, like certain people say all across the internet, like all your faves are problematic? But just because something is problematic doesn't mean that I can't enjoy it for what it is. I can recognize the faults of a thing, or that there's something wrong with the thing, but that doesn't mean I can never watch it or never enjoy it ever again, or never, like, understand the concepts of things, right? There are certain things that I definitely think, like, cancel culture in general is somehow a negative aspect, but other ways I think it's a really important thing to assess and look at stuff and be like, hey, where is this coming from? Who was doing that thing? And I'm not going to support you with my dollar or my attention or my time if you are operating in a way that is, I don't know, destructive to society at large, or destructive to myself in a way. But there is a middle ground in between that stuff, right? It's not like you're my full enjoyment and I endorse everything you say, or I don't watch you and I don't endorse a single thing you do. Like, there is a weird middle ground that can happen where I can like one thing and, like, also be critiquing another part of something that goes along with that thing, right? Like, that does exist, and acknowledging that takes a lot of stress off of me, while also pushing me to still, like, analyze things that I consume on a regular basis. Diversity of thought does not equal a more fulfilling conversation. This one can be hard because I think a lot of times in 2018, a lot of people were talking about bubbles and people being in the same thought bubble, and especially with social media, having your same opinion, like, ricocheted back at you in a lot of different aspects. And while I definitely think it's important to talk to people who have a differing mindset and talk to people who aren't necessarily of the same walk of life as you, like, it's good to have experiences outside of your own, to see things from different perspectives. Constantly striving for that does not mean that, like, the conversation is going to go anywhere. Like, sometimes you need to have a common ground and a basis of thought to then advance and go forward and create things that are better. Like, there are some times where I'm talking to people and it's diverse and different, and I hate it. And it's, like, by diverse, I mean, it's different, but we're never going to agree on something because we look at life entirely differently. I cannot wrap my head around how we can better society from a standpoint, I guess, if someone is literally under the construct that some people will go to hell and are abominations in this world just because they were born a certain way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there are some times where it's like, I can attempt to get in your head, but that's only going to get me so far. And just because you have a difference of opinion doesn't mean that our having a dialogue or a conversation is actually going to bring any sort of benefit. And actually, a lot of times, a lot of really great good benefits and advancements come from people who do have a similar thought process about things. So disregarding, people who agree with you in order to, like, I don't know, close the divide between the people you don't agree with isn't always beneficial or necessary to do. Personal boundaries are important and I should keep them. I have definitely played with a lot of, like, my phone goes silent after 10 p.m. I put it on Do Not Disturb. And I mean, I put it on, like, frickin' Do Not Disturb that no one can get fucking through to me. I do not care who you are. If it is a real emergency, goddamn call the police or the fire department or who you really need to freaking call. You shouldn't be calling me past a certain hour. And guarding my personal time and guarding my private time and my mellow time in things like that with my personal boundaries, especially with the people I love the most, really, really helped me to stay sane, and has helped me not to feel so resentful towards them. And I need to keep those boundaries up and keep them going so I don't go crazy even more so in the new year. My attention shouldn't be used as a weapon, but that does not mean that I am obligated to give my attention to anybody. I am really, really bad about, at times, pulling myself away or, like, not speaking to someone, just to make a point. There's a difference between using my attention, like I said, as a weapon, as, like, my disciplinary action to somebody, versus when someone crosses my boundary and I'm like, no, I don't have to talk to you if you're going to act that way. I don't have to, you know what I mean? There's a difference between the two, and a lot of it is if I look at where I'm coming from in that moment, where it's not that you crossed a boundary and now I need to put even more space between us. A lot of times it's, oh, I'm just feeling spiteful, or I'm feeling a little extra, like, I want to dig at you, so I just don't answer your phone call because I know it'll piss you off. I don't do this because I know it'll frustrate you, or I don't do this for, like, whatever. Like, I shouldn't be using it as a weapon in that way. That's petty, it's bullshitty, it's whatever. But that doesn't mean that I have then opened myself up to having to always answer somebody's phone call, or always having to be there when they need a shoulder to cry on, or always having to be the person that discusses a topic that you really want to talk about but makes me feel really icky inside. You know what I mean? Like, there is a balance between those two things. Balance is important. Ugh, annoying. But it's important to differentiate those two things and know that I don't have, like, I'm not obligated to give my attention to anybody, but I also shouldn't be using my attention as a weapon with the people that I care about. Vegetables are good and I should eat more of them. Like, that's such a basic one, but like with my health in general, I've noticed that if I look into the magical concept of vegetables and how much good associations are with them and all of the good things that come up with them, like, I'm sorry, I should just eat more. They're better for me. I should do more of that. Health is good. Yay. Oh, if someone only takes any sort of recognition of me when I am in a emotional extreme, aka when I'm stressed out of my mind, when I'm crying, when I am severely upset in some way, shape, or form, and that is the only time I'm being heard, then they don't deserve my attention. Period. I really struggled for a very long time in 2017, 2016, so many of the years before that even, with really, I would say something so plainly or give a disagreement or something I had, like, hey, that hurt my feelings, hey, this is what, and I say it calmly, or I would say it like, hey, can we please slow down, my knee hurts, or hey, can I do this, or hey, actually, this really doesn't work for me picking up the phone right now, or like, so many times I would assert my boundary calmly, and I wasn't heard by a multitude of people, by family, by friends, by romantic partners, and again and again and again, it seemed like so much of the words I was saying wasn't being heard by people, and I would have to break down crying or scream or like get, you know, in these extreme emotional states in order for anyone to hear me. And for a long, long time, I was focusing on, okay, well, what I can control is me. So I'm possibly not communicating effectively, or I'm possibly not like showing, you know, what am I doing wrong that they're not hearing me? And I worked on that for a really, really long time. And eventually it put me into a spiral of what the fuck is wrong with me because I'm still not being heard. And I don't know what else to do. And I don't know what else to do. And it was such a struggle. And 2018 was the freaking year, and this is what I'm so thankful for, where I said, fuck that. Enough of that. I've done enough self-work. I now know I am communicating effectively. So if certain people aren't going to hear me, if they're not going to listen, if it takes that extreme for you to pay attention to me, fuck you. You're not worth my time. Period. Simple as that. And most of the people who are really close to me have listened and are really seeing when I'm becoming frustrated, or really hearing me when I say like, hey, I have a problem, please don't do that again. Like, they're listening, and it's great. But there are still some people who aren't, and I'm done. Like, I'm not gonna keep doing shit. I'm fuck that bullshit. I'm not doing it. A step backward is actually a step forward if I'm changing direction. So much of being in Arizona and moving here and taking a job in a corporation, and there's so many things that have felt in the past 2.5 years like I have taken a giant step backward. Moving back in with my parents, redirecting my attention to certain things. I felt like I was either on pause or I wasn't stepping forward. And again, that productivity and self-worth thing, I felt like I wasn't being productive in my overall life goals, and then the self-dread and doubt and just overtook me. I realize now that if I had continued down the path I was going, if I had kept on this very lackadaisical outlook on life and not being active in it and not worrying about spirituality and doing things from a certain perspective all the time, I would be miserable right now. I would be absolutely miserable. And at the end of 2018, I'm not miserable. I am actually rather content, which is, like, there are still a lot of frustrations, and there are still a lot of things, and I'm, like, thinking of all the stuff I have to do for 2019, and I get a little crazy, but that's fine, because guess what? Like, I'm so much happier than I was at the end of 2017. There were a lot of things that were very, very wrong in 2016. There are a lot of things that were very, very wrong in 2017. And at the end of 2018, I can say a lot of those things that I didn't like about my life have been resolved or are going to soon be resolved. And again, it's not perfect, but I backtracked And I was going forward. I was moving in the direction I actually wanted to go, and it was hard, and it's been a struggle, and I'm still not where I want to be yet, but oh, it's so much better. I'm so thankful that I decided to really assess my life and look at things and realize I needed spirituality and realize that I need to be more focused on my health and realized that, hey, I don't want to be in Arizona for the rest of my life, and I don't want to be in a job that I'm in a corporation the rest of my life, and I don't want to be living in this climate or have these shallow types of friends or anything like that. I've realized so much about my life, and I took the action to change it. And it was a slow process, and it's been a crazy process, but I did the thing. So, yay me. I've actually moved forward in my life. It wasn't backwards. It wasn't backtracking in a sense. It's because I didn't like the direction I was going. So I was getting away from the direction I didn't like. And instead I was focusing on the direction I actually wanted to go. So anyway, those are 18 lessons or things that I have realized, refocused on in 2018. 2019, here we go. Something tells me it feels like it's gonna be some weird sort of uphill battle. I don't know. I'll make a whole new video next week. Will all be about 2019 and some of my plans and perspectives and things that I'm doing for 2019. What I'm excited about, what kind of gives me a little bit of dread, all of that will be in next week's video. Anyway, I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and my podcasts go live, Coffee and Cauldrons, every single Wednesday, so you can go and check those out if you would like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.